You think the future hasn't happened yet. You think it's open, undecided, waiting for you to make choices that will shape what comes next. You're wrong. The future already exists. It's already happened. It's sitting there, just as real, just as fixed, just as definite as the past you remember. And there's nothing you can do to change it. Now, before you close this and move on, let me tell you something. This isn't philosophy. This isn't speculation. This is what the physics actually says. When you understand how space and time really work, when you see what Einstein showed us, you realize something disturbing. The future is already written. Your entire life, from birth to death, already exists as a complete four-dimensional object in space-time. You're not creating the future, you're discovering it, one moment at a time. Let me show you what I mean. Think about the past, yesterday, last week, your childhood. Those things happened. They're done. They're fixed. You can't go back and change them. Now think about the future, tomorrow, next year, your old age. Those things haven't happened yet. They're open. You can still make choices that will affect them. Right? No, not according to physics. See, we have this intuition that the past is different from the future. The past is real, solid, unchangeable. The future is potential, flexible, undecided. And the present, this moment right now, is the only thing that actually exists. The cutting edge between what was and what will be. But that's wrong, completely wrong. Space and time aren't separate things. They're woven together into a single structure called space-time. And in space-time, past, present, and future all exist with equal reality. They're all just different locations in the same four-dimensional structure. Think of it this way. When you look at a map, all the cities exist simultaneously. New York and Los Angeles both exist at the same time. The map doesn't say New York exists, but Los Angeles will exist later. They're both there. They're just in different places. Space-time is like that map, except it's a map of events, not places. And the events spread across time the same way cities spread across space. Your birth exists. Your death exists. This moment right now exists. And they all exist simultaneously in the four-dimensional structure of space-time. They're just at different locations along the time axis. This is called the block universe, and it's what Einstein's theory of relativity actually describes. Here's how we know the future already exists. It comes from special relativity, from the simple fact that the speed of light is constant for everyone. Imagine two observers, Alice and Bob. Alice is here on Earth. Bob is on a spaceship moving very fast, close to the speed of light. Now, what does now mean? What does the present moment mean? For Alice, standing still, there's a set of events happening right now. Everything occurring at this instant across the universe. That's her present. But for Bob, moving fast, his now is different. Events that are in Alice's future are in Bob's present. Events that are in Alice's present are in Bob's past. They disagree about what's happening now, not because they're measuring wrong, but because now isn't absolute. Now depends on your motion. And here's the critical part. Bob's now includes events that are in your future. Events that haven't happened yet from your perspective are happening right now from his perspective. So which is it? Are those events in the future or in the present? The only consistent answer is that they exist, period. Not will exist, not might exist. They exist, just as much as the past exists. If the future didn't already exist, if it were genuinely undecided and open, then Bob couldn't have a now that extends into your future. But he does. Relativity requires it. The future must already be there. Otherwise, the mathematics of relativity doesn't work. Now you might be thinking, wait, if the future already exists, then what about my choices? What about free will? If everything's already decided, then I'm just following a script. I'm not actually choosing anything. And you're right to ask that, because this is the uncomfortable part. If the future already exists, if your entire life is already laid out in space-time, then yes, in a sense, everything you will ever do is already determined. It's already happened. It's already part of the structure of space-time. You're not creating the future, you're discovering it. Your consciousness is moving through time, experiencing events one by one, but those events were already there, waiting for you. Think of it like watching a movie. The entire movie already exists on the disc. The ending is already filmed. But when you watch it, you experience it moment by moment. The characters in the movie feel like they're making choices in real time. But from outside, we can see that everything they do was already determined when the movie was made. You're like those characters. You feel like you're making choices in the present that will shape the future. But from the perspective of space-time as a whole, your entire life is already complete. All your choices, all your actions, all your thoughts, they're already part of the four-dimensional structure. Does that mean you don't have free will? Well, that depends on what you mean by free will. If you mean the ability to make the future different from what it was already going to be, then no, you don't have that. The future is already determined. You can't change it because it's already happened. But if you mean the ability to make choices based on your desires, thoughts, and reasoning without external coercion, then maybe you do. Because even in a block universe, even if your choices are already part of the structure, they're still your choices. They still came from your brain, your preferences, your reasoning. The future is fixed, but it's fixed in a way that includes your decisions. You can't change what you're going to decide, but the decision is still yours. But here's what bothers people. If past, present, and future all exist equally, why does it feel like time flows? Why does it feel like we're moving from past to future? Why do we remember yesterday but not tomorrow? Why can we affect the future but not the past? The answer is entropy, the arrow of time. The universe started in a state of very low entropy, very high order. The Big Bang wasn't just hot and dense, it was organized, structured. And ever since then, entropy has been increasing. Things have been moving from order to disorder. And that's what creates the sensation of time flowing. Not because time actually flows, but because the structure of the universe changes from ordered to disordered along the time dimension. You remember the past because the past had lower entropy. There were organized structures that could be recorded. Your memories are physical, patterns in your brain, and those patterns could only form because the past was more ordered than the present. You can't remember the future because the future has higher entropy. It's more disordered. There's nothing organized to record, no structure to imprint on your brain. But that doesn't mean the future doesn't exist. It just means you can't access it the way you access the past. Think of it like this. Imagine you're reading a book from beginning to end. The entire book already exists. All the pages are already printed. But you can only read forward. You can flip back and reread earlier pages, but you can't skip ahead and read pages you haven't reached yet. Your consciousness is like that. You're moving through space-time in a specific direction, from lower entropy to higher entropy. And that direction feels like forward in time. But the whole book, the whole space-time structure already exists. Now some people hear this and they panic. They think, if the future already exists, then nothing I do matters. Why should I make good decisions if everything's already determined? But that's a mistake. Because your decisions are part of what makes the future what it is. Yes, the future is fixed. but it's fixed in a way that includes your choices. You deciding to do something is part of the causal chain that makes that thing happen. Think of it this way. In a movie, the hero makes choices. Those choices affect the plot. The hero's decisions matter for how the story unfolds. But from outside the movie, we can see that the hero's choices were always part of the script. They were determined before the movie was ever played. It's the same with you. Your choices matter. They affect what happens. They're part of the causal structure of the universe. But they're also already part of the space-time structure. They're already determined. This isn't a contradiction. It's just how causality works in a block universe. Causes still precede effects. Your decision now still causes the outcome tomorrow. It's just that both the decision and the outcome already exist in space-time. But wait, there's a complication. Quantum mechanics. Because quantum mechanics says the universe is fundamentally random, fundamentally unpredictable. You can't know exactly what will happen. You can only know probabilities. So how does that fit with the future already existing? If the future is fixed, how can there be quantum randomness? This is where it gets complicated. And honestly, nobody has a completely satisfying answer. One possibility is that the future exists, but it exists as a superposition. All possible futures exist simultaneously in space-time. And as your consciousness moves forward through time, you experience one particular branch, one particular outcome of all the quantum possibilities. Another possibility is that quantum mechanics is telling us something deeper about the nature of time itself. Maybe the block universe picture is an approximation. Maybe at the quantum level, the future genuinely is open in some way we don't fully understand yet. Or maybe the randomness in quantum mechanics is itself already part of the structure. The randomness is deterministic in a higher dimensional sense. The universe knows which random outcomes will occur, even if we can't predict them. I don't know which interpretation is right. Nobody does. But what I can tell you is this. The block universe picture works perfectly for classical physics and relativity. And quantum mechanics, as weird as it is, hasn't given us a clear reason to abandon it. Here's another way to see that the future must already exist. Time travel paradoxes. If you could travel back in time, could you change the past? Could you go back and prevent your own birth? No, you couldn't. Because if you prevent your own birth, then you never existed to travel back in time. It's a contradiction, a paradox. The only way to avoid these paradoxes is to say that the past is fixed. You can't change it. If you travel back in time, whatever you do was always part of the past. You were always there. Your actions were always part of what happened. But if that's true for the past, it must also be true for the future. Because relativity tells us that past and future aren't fundamentally different. They're both just regions of space-time. If the past is fixed and unchangeable, then so is the future. You can't change what's going to happen any more than you can change what already happened. You might travel forward in time and see your future, but you can't change it, because what you see is what will happen. It's already part of the structure. So what does it mean to live in a block universe? What does it mean that your future already exists? It means that your entire life from birth to death is already laid out. It's already complete. It exists as a four-dimensional object in space-time. But it doesn't mean your life is meaningless, because you're not outside space-time looking at it. You're inside it. You're experiencing it. And from your perspective, moving through time, moment by moment, your choices feel free. Your future feels open. Your actions feel meaningful. And in the sense, they are meaningful. Because even if the future is fixed, you're part of what makes it that way. Your decisions, your actions, your thoughts, They're all part of the causal structure that determines what the future looks like. You're not creating the future out of nothing, but you're also not irrelevant. You're one of the threads in the tapestry. Your thread is already woven, but it's still your thread. From a scientific standpoint, the block universe is the most straightforward interpretation of Einstein's relativity. It's what the mathematics actually describes. We've tested relativity thousands of times. Time dilation, length contraction, the relativity of simultaneity, all of it confirmed, and all of it points to the same conclusion. Space-time is a four-dimensional structure. Past, present, and future all exist within it. This isn't speculation. This isn't metaphysics. This is what the physics tells us. Now, does that mean it's definitely true? Does it mean there's no other interpretation? No. Science never proves things with absolute certainty. There might be deeper theories we haven't discovered yet. There might be ways to reconcile quantum mechanics with a more open future. But based on what we know now, based on our best theories, the future already exists. It's already happened. It's part of the structure of space-time. So here's the truth, the uncomfortable, strange, beautiful truth. Your future already exists. It's already happened. It's sitting there in space-time, just as real as your past. You can't change it. You can't make it different, because it's already what it is. But you also don't know what it is. You have to discover it, one moment at a time. And in that discovery, in that experience, you get to live your life. The universe is a four-dimensional structure. Your life is a thread running through it, and that thread is already complete. But you're not experiencing it as a complete object. You're experiencing it as a sequence of moments, a flow of time, a journey from past to future. And in that journey, your choices matter. Your actions have consequences. Your life has meaning. Not because you're creating the future, but because you're living it. The future already exists, and you can't change it, but you still have to live it, and that's what makes it yours. Now, what did Feynman think about all this? About determinism and the block universe and free will? He was careful. He didn't commit to strong positions on these philosophical questions. But he did say something interesting. He said that from the perspective of physics, the universe is deterministic at the classical level, but random at the quantum level. And he thought it was possible that this quantum randomness was the only real indeterminacy in the universe. But he also thought that worrying too much about free will was a waste of time. Because whether or not you have free will in some philosophical sense, you still have to make decisions. You still have to act as if your choices matter. Because from your subjective experience, they do matter. The future might already exist. Your choices might already be determined. But you don't know what those choices will be until you experience making them. So from your perspective, you still have to deliberate, decide, and act. The philosophical question of whether the future is really open or really fixed doesn't change how you live your life.